Hi guys, welcome to Shade 3 Roadside Repairs channel, and this is the video about rear brake caliper with the handbrake mechanism. This caliper is from Mazda 6GH. This is the place for the handbrake handle, and there is also kind of a return spring, and this is the hole for the handbrake cable. This is how it looks like. So this is the handle. This is the return spring for the handle, and this is the holder for the cable. So as you can see, it works like this. Interesting thing about this caliper is the handbrake mechanism. I'm going to show you how to disassemble this caliper, how to assemble it back, how it works, what is the design. So I have here also a brake hose. So with the Banjo bolt, everything is here. When you replace brake hoses, be careful and keep this place clean when you install it, because as you can see, it's very easy to have some dust there, so try to keep it clean. If you use non-original bolts, make sure that they are not long, and if they are long, in this case they can touch the internals, and actually they can touch the piston, which is not great. Regarding Banjo bolts, so I have 3 bolts here. This is the original one, and let's check it. So you see it has 2 holes from both sides and the main hole here. Diameter is 10 millimeters and the thread step is 1 millimeter here. Okay, so this is the aftermarket one. You see this hole is not so beautiful here. So this bolt is from some other car that I also used for some time, and it has hole only on one side, so there is no hole from the other side, and the diameter of the main hole and this hole is smaller. Let's measure the important distances here. So the thread distance is important. Yeah, better like this, right? So it is like 12.5 millimeters, but anyway, so something in between 12 and 13. Pretty much the same we have this with this aftermarket bolt, so as you can see. However, in this case, the thread is different. So the working length is bigger, and it is pretty much 14 millimeters. So yeah, it's 14. So let's say those two, they have something in between, 12 and 13, and this one has 14. I don't want to measure it exactly, just because, it also depends on which, kind of part of the thread you measure here. But anyway, this is, the length is bigger here. Yes, if we measure this to the, this part, it is about 9 millimeters, and I guess it's pretty much the same for all of them. Okay, so on the original bolt it's a bit smaller, and it is actually, it is 8 here, and on this one it is, yeah, let's measure it. Yeah, it's 9, and the aftermarket one, it's again 9, pretty much 9. So as you can see, the original one, this length is smaller here. So it's 8 millimeters. Better to use original bolts, you know, or 1 millimeter is likely not a problem. But this distance, you know, it is important because the brake hose, it has connector here, and the length of the connector is also, you know, defined, right, for this car. Do not, you know, pull it or push it or something like that. You should screw it, and basically you will be able to unscrew it. I use pliers for that, and if your caliper is in a good condition, pliers work. Also, you can use a wrench here if it doesn't go. So, but keep in mind that there is a special tool for pistons, for rear pistons. You can also use that tool. I don't have it, and actually I don't need it. So, as I said, you can use pliers, or if it doesn't go, so this is 19 millimeters wrench. So basically you can place it like this, and you can move it like this. Okay, but as I said, if your caliper is in a good condition, you can actually use pliers here, and you can move it pretty easily, you know, like this. And let me unscrew it. Be careful here, because, you know, pliers can basically kind of jump, and you can damage the rubber. If you damage, you know, the piston here, I mean, not damage, but kind of scratch it here, it's not a big deal, no worries about that. But as I said, be careful with this, at least when you assemble. Okay, and but I need to screw it a bit more, and a bit more. Okay, I will place it like this just because some fluid can be there. So let me see. Okay. So there is a ring which keeps this rubber. This rubber is kind of one-time rubber, so you must replace it if you unmount this. So your main goal is to unmount it. I don't recommend to use screwdriver, but actually here you can use screwdriver to kind of, you know, damage it and unmount it. But in my case, you saw how it worked. So now I can take out the piston, and this is the piston, and this is the caliper inside. Okay, so let's put the piston here. Surface is perfect, no rust. And here, so usually this place is very rusty. And actually one of the reasons why brake calipers require some maintenance is because rust is here and it damages, you know, this surface. And as you can see here, we have a seal, and because of the rust, the piston becomes rusty, you know, and that seal gets damaged, especially when you change the brake pads and simply, you know, screw the piston back, and all the rusty stuff which was under this rubber, you know, under this cover, it simply goes inside and damages the seal. I'm going to, you can use this, you know, you can simply use the screwdriver, but I'm going to use it to take out, you know, this seal. So as you can see, this is the seal. You can use the screwdriver, as I said. So this is the main important, this is your safety. So this seal, you know, the piston goes like this, and actually piston doesn't touch the surface of the caliper. So it goes, you know, simply here. So it is very important. Before we step into the handbrake mechanism here, let's see what we have in our piston. So this is the hole, and it is a very important hole. It should not be dirty. And internals of this piston looks like this. As you can see, this is the stop ring. There are many choices, you know, you can simply reuse the old piston, or you can replace the seal which is inside. I will show it to you. Or you can you know, buy the new piston and reuse the old internals and install the new seal. But I recommend you to simply buy a new piston, just because it's easier, and it is not so expensive to save money, you know, here. Okay, let me disassemble it, and in order to do that I have a special tool. This is 4 pliers for brake calipers, and you will see why it's important. The number of this tool is 9U0102. So I use them to disassemble this, and be careful here, because when you disassemble it, you know, keep your eyes, you know, in a safe place. But I keep it in using my hand. So let me. Okay. But as I said, be careful here. Keep your eyes safe. So this is the stop ring from the piston, and this is the spring from the piston. Spring, and here this is the bearing. So as you can see, it is the bearing. Okay, so let me unmount this seal too, and I will show to you how it looks like. So we will need this thing to disassemble the caliper, actually. I mean, to disassemble the handbrake mechanism there. But let's discuss it a bit later. And this is the piston. Nothing fancy here. Pure piston. Handbrake mechanism is here. And as I said, here we have a handle, right? So handle is here, and you move it like this when you activate the handbrake. So this thing is moving inside. There is a stop ring inside, which keeps this mechanism. Yeah, I think it's visible like this, probably. Yeah, I have problems with the focus, unfortunately. So you see the stop ring inside. So that stop ring should be removed, but you can't simply remove it like this, because there is a spring inside, and it's simply like, you know, it will hit you in the face. So in order to unscrew it safely, you can use the socket 16 millimeters. You can use this thing. As you know, you can screw it. You can screw it inside like this very easily, right? And if you put the socket will be able to push exactly this thing while you're screwing that part from the piston in the center. So as you can see, this is the socket. It fits perfectly like this. So this is kind of, I think this is the best idea. You know, you can even put spring here from the piston if you're going to change it. You know, it is 16 millimeters. I guess 17 will also work. I think it works. As I said, you know, better to use separate piston for that simply have this thing to work with the caliper, you know. I guess 17 could work the same, but anyway, 16, I like it. Okay, so keep it like this and screw it. Screw it. Not so hard, but as much as you can. So here I have some brake fluid, so it's not so easy for me to screw. So I'm going to push and screw, kind of push and screw a bit. Okay. As I said, just keep it like this, otherwise this thing will hit you in the face. And this is the reason why we need these pliers. You know, special tool for the brake calipers, so you need to go inside and carefully, very carefully, remove this holder ring. And now I can remove the whole mechanism from here. I will show you how it works a bit later. Okay. By the way, be careful, it is very easy to break, you know, these things here. This is the stop ring from the inside. And this is the mechanism, so let me unscrew it. Okay. As you can see, no damages, nothing here, everything is okay. 16 millimeters. And what we have here, this thing, I name it like a cover or spring holder. The spring and this thing with the thread inside. So it is installed there, then, you know, spring goes here, this thing, and then the stop ring, you know, after that. Now stop ring is placed like this there, and it is there kind of in this position. Oops. Okay. And you screw the piston here. It is a very interesting mechanism, by the way. What we have here now, we have some brake fluid, as you can see. And this thing in the center. This thing actually pushes the, I'm not sure how to name this thing, but it's kind of not a rod, but not a shaft, but kind of this thing. So it pushes it up. So a couple of words about this mechanism. So usually, as I said, there is a handle. And usually after 10 years, for instance, it is not possible to unscrew it. This is from Mazda 6GG caliper, but anyway. And as you can see, I tried to unscrew it, but I simply gave up, just because it's possible to unmount it as a whole thing. So if this nut doesn't go, which is very likely on old car, you know, 10 years old plus, just don't try to unscrew it and simply unmount this thing with the handle. Unfortunately, you won't be able to remove this shaft from here without removing this thing. This is actually the reason, for instance, if you want to change this rubber, you won't be able to do this without unmounting, you know, the whole thing. Because usually you can't unmount the handle, as I said. In my case, you don't have handle, but even now, as you can see, it is moving there, kind of, right? But I can't take it away. So I need to unmount first that thing. And as you can see, I hope you see it. Let me check the focus. Okay, now you see it. So if I spin it, you see it goes up. And now it's kind of, you know, in the uppermost position. The tricky thing here is how to remove it. And there is a not so easy but cool way to do it. Okay, a cool way to do it is to use, you know, this kind of pigtail, or how it's named, plastic clamp for wires. So you do something like this, I guess. And this is the tricky part. You need to put it there like this, kind of. I know it's not so visible right now, but... And also there is a brake fluid, which doesn't allow us easily install it. But usually with this thing, so it's like this, and I put it like this. Yeah, let me do it. Okay, and then you need to kind of pull it. I keep it with the hand, that part which is with the pigtail, and I try to up it like this. Up it like this. It might not work from the first time. Yeah, I need another pigtail now. I need to think about a better approach here. You can use several pigtails at the same time. You know, for instance, previously I installed like this, now I can install it like this and pull it from the other side. It could help. So this is usually the hardest part for me. Or I can pull it a bit from this side, then spin it, you know. So basically think about that. Okay, now it's installed, kind of. I'm going to pull it a bit. Yeah. So as you can see, I was able to do this. So it looks like this. This is the grease. Regarding greases and stuff like that, I will describe it to you later. So probably you think that in order to remove that thing, you can use some other approach instead of pigtails. For instance, you can simply hit the caliper like this. Be careful here because it could be painted. But anyway, now there is a new seal there, and I put this grease there just for test, and I'm going to hit it. So as you can see, it is there. Okay, let's hit it, let's say 3 times. Okay, I hit it, and as you can see, it's still there. It doesn't move, actually. Even if it's moved, it is less than 1 millimeter. So this approach, I don't like it, because first you need to hit, you can damage the painting. Also, you know, hitting the caliper overall, you know, it's not so how to say, beautiful approach. That's why I like pigtails. And in case if it's rusty, for instance, I think this way would be even harder. So that's why pigtails. This is special grease. Do not use lithium-based, you know, white grease or something like that. This is the special grease, and usually you can use the same grease as you use for guide pins, you know. So, but anyway, here we have one important thing. This rubber, and this rubber is again one-time rubber. Oh, I create a hole here, be careful guys. So you must replace it, and this is the super important rubber actually, because if it, imagine this thing always goes up and down here in the caliper, right? And this spring, it actually keeps the pressure. So, okay, this element was there. And now, as you can guess, we can easily... By the way, I forgot about this ring. I think simply like this, and then like this. Okay, and now, okay, like this, and then like this, and then it is here, and now you can remove it. So this is the ring which keeps the dust cover, or how it's named. But anyway, okay, now I can remove this thing, but actually inside, it's hard to find the focus, but okay, so 2 elements inside, guys, actually more, but this kind of shaft and this thing. I'm not sure how to name it, but this thing, it is heart of your handbrake. It's kind of, you know, not a heart, but imagine when you park your car on the slope and you switch on the handbrake, and this thing actually, it transfers torque from this thing to this thing, which pushes the piston. Just imagine that, you know, which is the most epic thing. Just imagine that your safety and safety of the others depends on this thing. Unbelievable. But anyway, okay, so it's placed basically like this, and when you know, spin it, it moves up and down, up and down. Now, as you can see, there is a hole basically, and there is a hole there as well. Let me try to find the focus. Okay, you see it. But it's not all. We have also, you know, this thing. This is very important. Just because if it's damaged, all the stuff goes inside and basically wipe your handbrake from the inside. I'm going to remove it. So usually you can remove it with the screwdriver from here. I'm going to use pliers. I think I will be able to use it. No, better to use the screwdriver here. Any screwdriver should work. So as you can see, I was able to kind of up it a bit, and now I hope I will be able to put the screwdriver there. Yeah, as you can see. So I hope it's visible and I can do this. Okay. Again, if you unmounted this, replace this. So this is the rubber, very important thing. This is the bearing. I'm not going to unmount this because it's not possible to unmount it without damaging it. There are some numbers, by the way. BA1012. This is not a usual bearing, as you can see. There is a kind of hole, right? Okay, so this is the bearing. And what else we can unmount here? Wow! Okay, interesting. Okay. This is the bleeder. Better to also replace it when you do some maintenance. Interesting why it looks so kind of damaged, but okay. Why? Interesting. Okay, so this is the bleeder. You can see the bleeder inside the hole. So basically input, bleeder, handbrake mechanism. You know, and this is how it looks inside. Okay, we disassembled the caliper, and now I'm going to describe you how it works and why it's so complicated. Okay, so those are all the elements that we have inside the caliper. And I'll start from this side. So this is the kind of shaft. Let's name it shaft. Handbrake shaft. So here it is a place where this kind of push rod, I guess, right? Push rod. It's like placed here, and when we move this, when we move this, you know, it goes up and down, up and down. So this is the dust cover, kind of, right? Which is installed here, and it's moving like this. Okay, in that direction it's, you know, not possible, so in this direction it's possible. Okay, so push rod and this shaft. The push rod pushes this thing. It's kind of moving, you know, kind of like this inside, and it pushes it up and down, up and down. This part, it contacts with the brake fluid, and this seal is installed here. And this shaft is moving there in the bearing like this, and as you can see, this hole. So this thing is moving basically there like this, or probably from, yeah, probably it's better like this. Unfortunately, I have issues with the focus, you know. Okay, now it's visible. What is next? Next is this thing, and you know, it simply pushes like this. You can see here. So, you know, it pushes it like this. And here we have the spring. So it is installed like this inside the caliper, and this ring, you know, keeps it there. So it looks like this, and it's like this. And when you activate the handbrake, it goes up and pushes this thing like this. One thing, couple of words, you know, about this spring. This spring is very, very important because this is actually the return spring for the handbrake. This spring returns the handbrake to the, you know, original or non-activated position when you release the handbrake. And as I said, here we also have another, you know, spring, right? So it is installed like this, as I said. Here we have additional spring. So this spring, it also helps, you know, this handle to return, but it's not the main thing. The main thing is this spring, which is installed inside. Okay, then we have a piston, and piston is very interesting. So this thing is installed there, and there is a seal, just because here we have a brake fluid, right? So as you can see, it's moving there. So there is also spring, bearing, and stop ring. But before I describe this, let's stop here. So this part of the handbrake mechanism, this part of the piston. As I said, we screw the piston, and this is how we screw it or unscrew it. This thread is very interesting because it's kind of, you know, it allows this mechanism to self-configure. Now let me show you how it works. So for instance, if let me install the bearing, because with this bearing it will be easier to show you. So okay, like this. So as you can see, when I move it like this, it's moving automatically, kind of, right? You see it? It very, very, you know, it spins because of the bearing. And the same happens in the opposite direction. Okay, like this. It's, I know it's incorrect, but for the example, you see, it works. Or I can show it actually even easier. So if I screw it, and then I can just shake it, and as you see, I'm simply shaking it, right? And it is unscrewing right now, automatically, automagically, you know. Yeah, let me, you see it. The same will happen if I do it like this. You see. Okay, this is a very interesting thing. Here in the piston we have that seal, you know, you see the seal, and this thing is installed there. So when you press the brake pedal, brake fluid goes here and goes basically everywhere, but since it can't go there because of this seal, you know, it goes in that direction. And what it does, it simply it tries to move the piston, right? So, but here we have a bearing and the spring. So it tries to, and you know, this stop ring is installed here. So, you know, it moves the piston kind of outside, and it allows this thing to self-configure, you know, like this. Because, you know, brake pads, they're different in time, right? So today they're thick, tomorrow they're thin. But handbrake should work the same, you know, the same way as yesterday. So it goes like this when you press the brake pedal. But after that, when you activate the handbrake, it pushes from here, but it doesn't spin. Just because this thing, you know, it pushes that part, and this thing also cannot spin from this side, just because you see these things, 1, 2, and there you also have 1, 2, so it's kind of fixed there. Sorry, it is fixed there. So when you press it like this, your handbrake works. So you simply press the brake pedal, this system gets configured, and after that you press the handbrake and everything works. So that being said, this seal is actually needed just because you spin this thing inside like this, in case when you press the brake pedal, so it goes like this. But also, I'm not sure, but I believe it is kind of a side effect of this design. When you press the brake pedal, not the handbrake, but brake pedal, suddenly, you know, pressure goes there, you know, kind of suddenly, and because we have this spring here, you know, the piston, it can kind of move, you know, like this, without even waiting for this thread to unscrew, you know. So you press the pedal, brake fluid, you know, pushes this piston, it goes like this, and after that, you know, slowly this thing, it goes like this, slowly after that. So it can happen, you know, in 1, for instance, second after you press the brake pedal. So, and this is one of the reasons why when on the car with such a caliper, sometimes when you press the brake pedal, you know, several times before you actually activate the handbrake, it brakes better. Just because this system gets configured, you know, properly, and this thing is, you know, moving a bit like, you know, this or even less, and then the handbrake works better. Or for instance, when you first press the brake pedal, and only after that you activate the handbrake. Just because in this case it's simply easier for the handbrake system, you know, because the piston is already there, and so the only thing which happens when you activate the handbrake, you know, you put needed pressure here and that's it. So you don't need to move a lot the piston. So this is how it works. And let's think about the weak sides. So the first weak side is of course this place. What happens? This cover gets broken somehow because of, you know, water, salt everywhere, anything like that, you know, rust or simply age. And as a result, water goes inside. After that, corrosion is happening there. And this is the reason why this thing can't, you know, can't move easily. As a next step after that, you know, water and stuff. Where is that hole? You see that hole there? Water and stuff goes even into that hole, and basically because of the corrosion, this seal gets damaged. So if you see some oil leakage here, oil brake fluid leakage, it means that handbrake mechanism is dead. You know, you need to, in the best case, replace this thing and disassemble everything. In the worst case, replace this bearing. By the way, even if this bearing is damaged, it is likely going to work after you clean it. So keep that in mind. Or you probably need to change this thing as well. Another kind of specific to this caliper thing is actually the piston. As I said, it is easy to change the piston, so I recommend you to simply buy, you know, the whole piston and simply replace it. But I can imagine how this thing here leaks. I've never ever seen that, to be honest, in the real life, but I'm pretty sure it is possible when, you know, this seal gets damaged. What is that? Interesting. Okay. When that seal, you know, gets damaged and it leaks from here. So if it leaks from here, then simply change the piston. And kind of common to all calipers, you know, basically this seal is usually okay. But what happens, you know, water goes in this area because this thing is either old or somehow damaged when brake pads, you know, were replaced. So someone could damage it. That's why everything here becomes rusty. You know, piston goes, you know, kind of like this. Piston also becomes rusty here, kind of partially. And after that, someone changes the brake pads and pushes, in this case, screws the piston like this. And it damages the seal with the rust. So actually it means that basically better to change the brake pads often, just because, you know, in this case probability of the rust here is kind of lower. And that's it. So guys, this is how the handbrake mechanism works. And the next step is to assemble it. But before I assemble it, I want to say about, you know, about which grease you need to use where when you assemble it. So basically here you need only two types of grease. The first type is, you know, you need to put it here to the handbrake mechanism. Do not use lithium grease. I know that it works in some cases or in most of the cases, but don't use it. There are special grease here. Sometimes it is the same as for guide pins, and I will show you at the end of the video what I use here. And for the piston and for the seals, so basically for the cylinder, you need to apply small amount of another grease, and that grease is special for brake cylinders, you know. I will also share it in the end of this video. So that being said, you need two types of grease. Separate here, and it's likely the same as for guide pins, or I guess if you don't have, you know, some good grease here, use the grease from guide pins. It is going to work, I guess. But I recommend you to use something which I will recommend you at the end of this video. And here you need, you know, special grease for the cylinders. It is another one. Do not use the same, you know, type of grease that you used here. In the worst case, you can use the brake fluid here, but do not go this way. It is kind of, you know, old shade tree way. So anyway, let's assemble it back. I'm not going to use grease this time, just because I'm assembling it only for the video purposes. Okay, and the first thing is this part. So this part, you should have it in the repair kit. And by the way, regarding the repair kit, what you should have in the repair kit, let me show you the smallest possible amount of items in the repair kit. So okay, this is the repair kit. Yeah, I think this is what you should have at least. So basically the seal for the piston, the dust cover for the piston, dust cover for the handbrake mechanism, and this is for the handbrake mechanism also, and this is for the piston. So this all you should install new. Ideally you need to use the new piston, and there are two types, either disassembled like this or assembled. I recommend you to use the assembled one. Okay, put special grease here, special grease, as I said. You know, put it in the proper position like this, or something like this. And then as the next step, you have some grease here. If you put too much, no worries. This is the place where it's okay to have too much. So this thing is new and it should be pressed here. Also, probably you replace, you know, the bearing, but as I said, even if it's damaged, likely it works, you know. So grease should be there in order to allow this thing to move smoothly. And of course, clean everything, you know, brake cleaner stuff, you know, and when you assemble it, it should be dry. Okay, so install this thing. I usually, you know, place this part in that direction because it's easier than to unmount it. So how I press it, I use the wrench, you know, 22 millimeters is the smallest one. I recommend you to use 23 millimeters, but in my case, currently for the video sake, I will use, you know, 22 millimeters, and you can place it kind of like this here, and after that simply, you know, simply hit here and you will press it. Be careful, spy on how you know, press it. Another way is to use, you know, the socket, some bigger socket. I'm not sure. I guess, you know, it is definitely it is 20 something. You know, just experiment with the sockets, but I used simple wrench many times and it works. Better to use 23 millimeters, as I said, to not to damage this one. But anyway, the idea is actually like this. So let me and I will take another wrench for this, and I will simply, for the video's sake, guys, but as I said, better to have a bigger wrench here or to use socket. Okay. Okay, I believe it's kind of pressed. Let's spy on that. Yeah, I damaged it when I disassembled, but as you can see, it's kind of pressed. So inspect it after that, press it, you know, from the whole sides. Be careful with the rubber. You saw the example, so it's possible to press it like this. So you have now there, you know, grease inside. The hole is in the proper position. So this thing is installed. The next thing you need to install is this shaft. Okay, again, put some grease here, here also, grease everywhere. And this thing, you should put it, you know, you should align it with the hole there. So, okay, let's align it with the hole, like this. Okay, so it's here, and let's check it, right? Okay. So make sure that it is even, you know, from all the sides, you know, that kind of window in the bearing. Okay, the next thing, this kind of push rod. It is still unbelievable for me, you know, imagine how much this thing does in this caliper. Put some grease on that and basically drop it there. Okay, as you can see now, it is there. Again, some issues with the focus, but it is dropped. Okay, I can place it like this temporarily. Okay. The next step is this thing. You take new seal, put the grease here. That's special grease for the handbrake mechanism, but I wouldn't put it on this surface. I would put here only a small amount of brake fluid to simplify the installation, and it should be enough. However, I believe this grease, it's not aggressive for different kind of, you know, rubber type of materials. So I believe you can also put it here and it won't be a big deal, but I wouldn't do it. So think about that. And I believe the brake fluid is better just because, you know, there is, so this part with the brake fluid, you know, and here everywhere there is a brake fluid. So when it goes up, basically it meets the surface with the brake fluid, so there should be no that grease. Okay, special handbrake grease here, brake fluid, small amount here. Then you can put it there, and I would again drop it like this, and after that, using my hand, I would put it properly. When it's greasy, you know, you can actually adjust that, you know, push rod and put it in a proper position just because of the grease. But in my case, currently I'm going to simply, you know, push it by hand now. Okay, I pushed it. I simply feel it. So now I pushed it and it is there. Okay, this part of the handbrake mechanism is actually assembled right now, and I can, you know, as you have the handle, I have this tool. Let me. Okay, it works. So in the real life, it doesn't move a lot actually. So I mean, in the real life, it moves, you know, I guess like this at maximum. And you have a handbrake. So in my case, I feel now by hand, you know, with my finger how it works. Okay, so I put it, I press it, and here I pressed it. Okay, so this part is kind of assembled. The next step is this thing. Do not put any grease here, so it's not needed, because for this thread, you know, brake fluid actually works as a grease. So this thing, it's all with the brake fluid. So first you need to install the spring like this. It doesn't matter, you know, which side. I believe it is all the same. So install it like this. Then put this thing. You know, I would put it like this, so these parts, you know, kind of 90 degree, like this. But actually it doesn't matter much. So I think this window here and there is likely needed for, you know, for the stop ring. But anyway, so you have this. In order to install this stop ring, you need to kind of press it like this, but inside when it's there, which is very tricky. And I use, you know, this approach with the internals of the piston. Some other people, they use some other approaches. I know at least another way how to do it, but I don't like it, and it's out of the scope of this video, so I recommend you to use this approach. Okay, so place it like this, then, you know, place the socket here. Okay, also, you know, the stop ring. So as you can see, stop ring, you know, kind of cover spring and this thing. Okay. And this, you know, kind of socket, and this thing to screw it there. Okay. And now, better to install it after. So, and now, as you can see, I can screw it like this. Yeah, let me take, you know, wipe. Okay, so looks like this. Then I put the stop ring here, and now the trickiest moment. You know, you remember that these things, you know, should be exactly there. This is actually one of the trickiest moments. Okay, so I think now it's installed. This thing is moving a bit because the spring is, you know, pressed. After you install it, make sure that it's pressed, you know, just press it on the perimeter, you know, press it from all the sides like this, you know, and make sure that it is really installed. Seems like, yes, it is really installed now. Yeah. Let's unscrew it. Yes. So this thing, I can remove it. Okay, let's see how it works. You know, when I spin it. Yeah. So as you can see, probably I have a wrench. So as you can see, it's moving back. Like, this is how it should work. So now it's assembled, the hardest kind of part. And if I install, you know, this thing here, hey, you're going to see that it works. So you see it works. So no issues there. So this is part of the piston, and this thing should be new. And it should be placed like this. So this kind of the smaller diameter should be on the top, not like this. Because if you install it like this, when you put it inside the piston, you will damage it. But just in case, double check. I mean, disassemble the piston and double check it. Okay, so it should be like this. So the next step is to install this bearing. And to be honest, I forgot how it should be installed, like this or like this. My gut feeling says it works both ways. So my gut feeling says that better to install it like this thing. Okay, so smaller diameter should be at the bottom. And make sure that this hole is not blocked. Okay. How the stop ring should be installed there. So it should be like you know, like this. Like this. So those kind of ears, you know, the stop ring, they should be placed there, you know, here or here or here. So basically 4 places. Okay. And the spring, hardest part. Okay. Make sure I screw it somehow. It's pretty much installed now. Okay. I think it's okay now. Okay. Or probably this, you know. Yeah. Something, I think this ring is too old. You know, that's why you need to change piston, you know, from time to time. So I disassembled this piston, I guess, too many times. So that's why that ring is not so cool anymore. So I need to kind of extend it, you know, inside there. Okay, now I extended it and it looks better. Okay, so yeah, it should be like this. So my ring is not so good anymore. So this is the reason why you need to from time to time, you know, replace the piston. So basically, I think if you replaced, you know, the rubber ones, next time buy a new piston. So now it's good. So I extended it like this a bit. Now I like how it looks like, and I think I'm satisfied. Okay, so as you can see, you know, it's perfect. Okay, the next step, seal. You know, this should be easy. The seal installation is there. Use the special grease here, as I said, to assemble it, but the seal, and make sure that everything is clean here. Okay, so let me install the seal. The old one, but you will install the new one. Yeah, it's not so... I don't see what I'm doing. Oh, my wire. Okay. Do not use screwdrivers or something here. Only hands. Okay, I think I installed it. So as you can see, sorry for the focus, guys. So as you can see, it is there, and our caliper is ready for the next steps. So the next step is to install the piston and this, you know, dust cover. So first I install it on the piston, and this thing should be you know, on the front, like this. Remember it. Just because the stop ring, you know, it should be like this. Okay, so install it first. Okay, like this. Remember here there should be special grease. Okay, like this. Then I screw it. No, it should go easy, smoothly. Okay, like this, and then by hands, you know, put it there. Into the internal area. It could not be so easy. So when I put it, somehow I use this tool and carefully, you know, I can not right now, to be honest. So let's put it by hands, you know, evenly as you can, and then let's screw it. So you see here it's not exactly even. So what I do, I use this, so you know it is safe, because you see, because I don't actually damage it. Okay, so now it looks better. I'm pretty sure that it's not exactly perfect, but okay, it's installed, but I need to unscrew it kind of like this. And now again with this thing, just to make sure that it is placed there properly. Then unscrew it more. Like this. And as you can see, it's still there. It means that it is even. So you see it. And now I can install the ring. This is the hardest part, and if you fail here, then you will need to repeat everything. So I first put it like this, then kind of move it like this and put it like this. So you see the first, you know, kind of be very careful, because if you touch the rubber with this thing, it's not 100%, but there is a big probability that you will simply damage the rubber. So okay, put it like this. Okay, and then okay, so seems like it's installed. Let's screw it back. Looks perfect. Looks perfect. Let's unscrew it. Looks perfect. It's pretty much unscrewed completely, but it still looks perfect and no issues. So the caliper is assembled, you know, make sure that there is no rust there. And basically screw the new bleeder. By the way, you should never screw the bleeders, you know, a lot, because it's very easy to damage the thread. So this is the bleeder. The handbrake works, so I'm going to screw it. As you can see, it's moving, which is perfect. So you see the handbrake. And by the way, you see the piston is moving. It is expected. This is consequences of the, you know, self-configuration mechanism. And I believe a good caliper, if it behaves like this, it's okay. I can even show it to you again. Sometimes it behaves like that. So you see, it's okay. This caliper is going to work. If you know why it happens, please leave a comment for this video. And if it's good or bad, what do you think about that? By the way, I forgot to say about, you know, the piston position. So it should be vertical, you know, so these kind of places, you know, here and here, they should be vertical like this. Just because on the brake pad there is a, you know, kind of I don't know how it's named, but there are kind of bubbles, you know, which are placed exactly here, and it doesn't allow the piston to, you know, move like this. And it's needed for the case when you you know, switch on the handbrake, you know, piston goes like this, and it should be static, you know, because otherwise you know, it could simply move, and that self-configured mechanism, it simply won't work in this case. So it's simply like kind of screw, right, and you won't have a handbrake. So this is very important. So when you install the brake pad, so you should be, you know, you should spy on that. And as I said, do not push, you know, you should screw it. Also make sure that this rubber is, you know, placed perfectly, you know, I mean, brake pad doesn't touch it, and there are no issues with the, you know, with the rubber when you change the brake pads. I disassembled it again, as you can see, and there is another way how you can install, you know, this rubber. I took another one, so this is the first one, this is the another one. By the way, make sure that there is not so much grease here, because if it's greasy, you know, it's way harder to you know, use this approach. Okay, let's screw it again. Okay, kind of like this. And again, why? Now I was able to use it, you know, to do it only with hands even. Yeah. I think now it's okay. And as you can see, it's kind of faster than the second one, the first one. So let's unscrew it. As you can see, looks perfect. No issues with the rubber. Let's screw it back. Yeah, put some grease here. Some grease which is not this grease, you know, not this grease for the handbrake, but here should be grease for the cylinders. I will show you the brands. Otherwise, you know, it sometimes it is doing this thing. Okay, again, it looks perfect, and I have, you know, some small, you know, visible place here, but it's okay. Again, it is on top of the rubber, so this rubber is not going to fail in any way. And also, this is non-original, keep it in mind. So probably if you are dealing with some better brand, you know, it will be better. So it is perfect. So this is the second approach. By the way, regarding the brands, I used, you know, out of RAN many times repair kits. They have many of them. Also, I used ERT repair kits, and also I used Friend kit. All of them are kind of similar to me. Probably Friend kit is a bit kind of it has probably a better quality, but I'm not sure. So, and everything worked for me perfectly, so I had no issues with those brands. Okay, so I consider it kind of, you know, completed. A couple of words about handbrake mechanism. So this, you know, kind of shaft, push rod, spring, you know, this thing, this kind of cover, stop ring, and this thing which is, you know, push rod, pushes this. So it's impossible to buy it separately. So either you buy an aftermarket caliper, or you buy, you know, second-hand original and reuse this. So be careful, and usually everything is okay with those parts, even after 10-15 years. But anyway, for instance, if you buy an aftermarket caliper, and if it's kind of middle price, you know, if you are not confident about the quality, I would suggest you to reuse this mechanism from your original caliper. So, regarding which grease to use and where. So, as I said, two types of grease you need for this job. And the first type, let's start from this one. So, this is, as you can see, this is ATE brake cylinder grease, which is compatible with the brake fluids like .3, .4, .5.1. It means that this grease can contact with them and nothing bad is going to happen, right? So if you need the number, so here is the number, so this one, ATE. This grease is pretty rare, but should be possible to find it. And looks like this. So this grease you put basically on 3 places. The first place is the piston, and you know there is a main seal for the piston. So that main seal, you know, which you install here, and you know the piston is moving like this. So you need to put this grease basically to the surface of piston and also to this seal, which simplifies the installation. You know, it's not a big deal if you put that seal somewhere here, but I don't recommend you to put it, you know, on this side where the piston contacts with the dust cover, just because when dust cover is greasy, you know, it becomes sticky, and dust and stuff like that, you know, sticks to the dust cover, which is not good, but it's not a big deal actually. So okay, the first place is here to the seal and to the piston. You can also, you know, put small amount, you know, thin layer to the cylinder itself. The second place is here, so you see this seal inside the piston. So you can put small amount of, you know, this grease here as well, but thin layer, it should be enough, very thin layer, and basically install it. Previously I said that you can put here a brake fluid. It also works, but to be honest, I prefer more, you know, this grease, and last time I assembled my rear calipers using this grease and it worked perfectly. But don't put much grease there because it's simply not needed. And interesting thing, yeah, this is the seal for piston. This is how it looks like. And by the way, you should install it, as I said, you know, like this. Okay, and another thing is this one. So as you remember, this is the handbrake, you know, mechanism. And interesting thing here is that this thing, it contacts with the brake fluid, and at the same time it contacts with the handbrake mechanism. So brake fluid is on top of it and before the seal. So it goes like this, and brake fluid is on top, and here there is a, you know, handbrake mechanism. So you can put, you know, this grease for brake cylinders to this seal, thin layer to this seal, as well as, you know, you can put the thin layer, you know, to that surface. Actually, I think it's better to see it from this. So basically you see this hole there, so you can put the thin layer of grease to that hole, you know, using your finger. You know, it works, as you can see, if you have small fingers. Sorry for the focus. So if you have small fingers, you can put that grease there, thin layer, and basically on the seal. In the video previously I also said that you can put the brake fluid here, but instead of brake fluid, you know, better to use this special grease. However, you know, this side, it contacts with the kind of push rod, you know, like this. And that whole mechanism, you know, the push rod itself from both sides, you know, this place of this thing where the push rods, you know, touches it, and, you know, as well as this thing and this thing. Here you should use another grease like this. This is TRW PFG 110, and as you can see, you can use it for, you know, for internal handbrake areas. So basically put this grease here to this bearing and to all those components. And if you put a lot, you know, of this grease, I think it's not a problem. So even if this grease, you know, contacts a bit with this seal, it should not be a big deal. Also, another thing about this grease, as you can see, you can use this grease for guide pins, and it means that likely the grease for guide pins, which comes as part of such repair kits, you know, it is compatible with this grease likely. So likely you can use, you know, grease from, you know, from the repair kits. Also here as a handbrake mechanism grease, and it should work. I haven't tested that, but likely it is going to work. So last time when I assembled the caliper, I noticed that this grease, it makes the seal rubber a bit softer. And I noticed that, and after that I assembled that caliper with that seal, which became softer. And so far so good. I had no issues with that, completely no issues. However, I decided to make a test, and those seals are from repair kits, those are non-original. And I put, you know, this grease, I put on all those three seals. So the main seal, the piston seal and the handbrake seal. And I think 3 weeks passed after that, and let's take a look on them now and see what is happening here. So if it's softer or not. To be honest, I don't feel the difference. It looks completely the same to me. So this grease should not be aggressive for this rubber, and it's not aggressive actually. Okay, let's check the other rubbers. Likely they are also okay. This is from the piston. Yeah. It feels perfectly. And the same with this one. It also feels perfectly. Okay. So here I have another test. I used, you know, this grease, TRW, for handbrake mechanism, and I put it to those seals as well, which is what you are not going to do, but just for the test's sake, you know. And yeah, it feels good. So I don't see any issues here. Yeah, I don't see any issues, it's perfect. And here what I did, I mixed them both, you know, this one and this one. And this is the handbrake seal, which is, you know, it possibly can contact with both greases, as I said, but it also feels perfectly. So as you can see, no damages to that. So what I can conclude with this, you know, 3 weeks test is that those greases are not aggressive to this rubber. However, as I said, I think I noticed that this grease, you know, made that rubber softer. Probably I'm wrong, and probably it was not so good repair kit, or it was just my impression which was wrong. I don't know, so please leave a comment if you have similar experience. It would be interesting to know other stories. And here, as you can see, this is the dust cover for guide pin. And as you can see, inside you have something red. It is also grease. It is, you know, the similar grease to this TRW, but it was from the repair kit. And it is kind of red. So I put it here and want to see the rubber after that grease, and it is perfect. So the rubber is soft, everything is good. Yeah, that grease looks interesting, you know, like blood or something like that. So I used this grease as well many times for guide pins, and I had no issues with any of those, you know, greases from the repair kits like Altofren or ERT. So, and the rubber feels perfectly. So what we can conclude? We can conclude that those greases are not aggressive, so don't be afraid.